Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon now. Good afternoon, Matt, down in Sydney. How are you?
Good, mate. It's good to see you representing the overseas athlete, mate, and me looking after SportsFX.
That's right.
It's a
That's right.
it's a it's a great mix.
That's right. If you haven't seen or listened to the podcast yet, it is on all your favourite podcast channels and the YouTube. And that wasn't set up as a plug, but there we go. We're off. We're off and running.
We're off and running. Tuesday funnies, mate. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right. So, mate, we were just talking off air quickly, but we just thought we'd talk quickly and just get straight into the fact that November provided a record month in regards to revenue for SportsFX, which is firstly amazing, fantastic, and probably just goes to show that we're sort of, we do what we say we're going to do, and then we put a lot of education and client first of, around everything of what we do, and they obviously appreciate it because I reckon about 80% of it was repeat business and 100% of it was repeat and referral business.
Yeah, I think that's it, and it's testimony, mate, to what's been built, what's being built in and around that. And you're right, it's about doing what we say we're going to do. And you know dressing rooms better than I do, mate. Fundamentally, all they want is clear communication, and they just want you to know your role and just do what you say you're going to do. You do those three things, and you're winning every day of the week, and clearly we are.
Yeah, and it's been interesting in regards to, with the players and all the deals that we've done over the last month. It's it's all done on WhatsApp, and it's all right, I've got some money coming in. What are the rates doing? We have a quick chat around that, and then compliance. So compliance is a buzzword or even a dirty word sometimes if you're in sales. It feels like it's hamstrung, but we do it the right way. Again, we tell the clients what we need. So I need this, this, and this. These are the reasons why. Again, you've built that trust and relationship over time, and it just saves any delay on their transfer. So again, I'll request that up front, so we make sure that we've got all the boxes ticked. I know the bank are going to ask me for something in particular. I can just send that across, and it saves any delays on payment. So yeah, again, it's just as you say, knowing your role. This is a role that we know. We know what the bank are going to ask for. We know what documents might be needed depending on if it's a larger transfer than usual. So we had one 3 times bigger than his normal transfer or his last transfer. That's only because he saved the salary over a 6-month period this time. So again, just getting a copy of the player's contract, a recent bank statement which marries up. Here's where money's earned. This is where it's going, and this is why we're sending it on. And all ticked off nice and easy.
Yeah, and it is that. I was having a conversation the other day to coffee with someone and just followed up. One of the biggest sporting goods in this country, providers and manufacturers. And it's interesting when you get into the conversation around what we do, and when the penny drops for them, and they understand what it is we do, be it in that referral or ambassador or apparel space, how we help that sporting industry with the education first and foremost. And I say that all the time. We first start with education. If they become clients, that's magnificent. If they don't, we at least give those ambassadors, those referrers, those clients the right information, armed with the right questions and information to go back and ask the providers they're currently using.
Yeah.
And I think it's testimony to SportsFX, overseas athlete, which is fundamentally what we're doing in that holistic space. Why they keep referring in and continuing to trade with us.
Yeah, and off the back of that, we had a conversation last week with the national teams here, national sporting teams here in a particular sport, and it was to firstly get them to understand what we do. But as we both sort of laughed at the end of the conversation or halfway through, he said, "Oh, my wife and I import stuff from China. We pay in US dollars. Is that what you do?" So, and from that's led on to another introduction. Again, not to a player, to a business owner that imports and exports, because they're finally, understanding, right, okay, so it's anything to do with money being moved around the world or global currencies or international payments.
As we know, mate, it's one of it's a really interesting industry, this industry, because people just do business overseas and know that they have to pay an invoice in a foreign currency, but they don't understand, well, the majority don't understand the cost of that invoice. So, yeah, once we have those conversations, we break it down into really simple terms. It's incredible how how quickly the mind shifts, and then they work it out and they go, oh, mate, not just us, I can talk to or refer you to this person, that person, and that person.
Yeah.
And as we were saying the other day when we got off that call, it's because we don't mind saying this, we can't bullshit a bullshitter. We are what we are. You know what I mean? And people trust in the language, they trust in how we break it down for them. It's not a complicated process, but it can be if you don't understand it. And just put it into the simplest terms possible and finding the best possible outcome for their business.
Yeah, no, definitely. So it's very interesting that a couple of those things have come up, and outside of that, we know there's at least probably 10 or 15 players, coaches, and staff that have deals, whether it be in Japan or America and Australia. So even before we get to the the core of what we do, there's potentially opportunities within the business of the corporate space for importers and exporters, which is fantastic. And again, we'll have a look at it. If they've got a good deal or things are going as they should be, we'll just let them know, look, you're on a good wicket, no need to change.
Yeah.
But if there's areas where you can potentially improve it, this is where you could do it, and this is how we can help. So
100%. And I mean, that'll come forth too. Like there's some exciting things coming up in 2025, us entering into another sport that we haven't necessarily had significant cut through in the past, but 2025 is looking like that'll change with a particular partner that we'll announce down the track. So that's all positive signs, and that's just people. And again, it's not us; it's people referring SportsFX, which again is ultimately us. That business and us doing what we do to support them.
And on top of that, and I'll give you a figure. I don't know if I sent you this email, but we had a rugby league player last week sending money home from pounds into Australian dollars. He was just going to send it through Barclays Bank. He had that's just what he knew, and the only thing he knew. So the difference was $9,719.33 Australian dollars more he got on this end, purely from the exchange rate and the fees.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's you add that up over a period of time. If that player was doing multiple transactions at that volume, just say that's a significant amount of money in anyone's language.
Yeah, and that's just it's just a one-off. There's no plan around it. Sometimes it's just a one-off and it's just a pure cost-saving exercise. Other times it's a 12-month contract and we need to put X, Y, Z in place to help you here or there.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just purely a rate thing, and just getting a better rate. Plus the same thing. It was all done with the help of his financial planner, through himself, getting the right documents in place. Money came in, money went out. It was here the next day. Super happy, and that'll be another referral partner down the line.
Yeah, mate. I don't know anyone that doesn't want to put $9,000 back in their own pocket.
Yeah.
And don't give it to a bank. I mean, I don't know whether you read today that the banks are looking to charge for withdrawals of cash. Put a $3 fee on, roughly.
Wow.
So there you go. There's another incentive.
Yeah. Because the $1 billion, the $1 billion of profit is just not enough.
Quarter. It's just not enough.
Yeah, incredible. And again, another thing we sort of touched on briefly, but from a case study point of view, is asking the question around how you're getting paid. So we've got a particular client. He's in Australia, but he's got some worldwide endorsements. So he gets paid in US dollars a couple of times a year. His management company is in the US. So the money is sort of being earned in Australia. It's going to the US. They're taking their cut and they're sending it back. And I've spoken to him a few times about this around it's just not the most efficient way to do it, but it's just how it's been put into the contract and how it's done. So again, if you are someone that earns money in multiple currencies, for different reasons, whether it's salary, prize money, endorsements, sponsorships, consulting, whatever it may be, is just to let us, let someone have a look at that for you. I reckon he's missing out on close to 6 or 7% each time this happens, which is 3 to 4 times a year, and it's decent amounts of money, purely because it's just the way it's been set up. But I guess because of our banking networks and relationships now, we can probably put something in place to negate a lot of that for him and just put a bit more of that money back into his pocket.
Yeah, that's right. And then again, every client has different needs. And it's just listening to them and understanding them and asking the key questions around that.
Mm.
If they're feeling that it doesn't feel right, well, there's every chance that it's actually not right.
Yeah.
And you're right. That ability to save them for not doing a great deal at all, purely just asking the right questions and guiding them the right way, you're right, they'll become a referral partner straight off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had a heap of that recently, haven't we? We've had a ton of new introductions in the past
Yes.
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to be down in Sydney, which means you're busy out and about seeing them all, which is great. Just pimping out Matt for the meetings down there.
You just live that lifestyle up on there at GC, mate, with that great tan of yours and those white shoes. You're right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I've got mine on Friday out at the nice
Yes.
Sanctuary Cove out by the boats there. A steak lunch with a network of people, which will be an interesting day.
No, I think that'll be a great day, mate. Just looking at my calendar, I don't think I'll get up there, which is a shame because I think that would be an ideal start point. Knowing who you're meeting with and so forth, it's going to be a really big opportunity going forward for us.
Yeah,
there's so many tentacles for this. As we said, we work in the elite athlete space, but we work in the industries that support elite athletes as well. There's so many arms to that. And as people say, do you do that? Yes, we can. We'll help where we can help, and when we can't, we'll point them in the right direction. And we'll make sure that whoever we point them in the right direction to delivers what they say they're going to do, and look after the clients that we have.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's going to be a big year.
Yeah, keeping it all within that sort of trusted network where you can bounce people around to the right people, knowing they get the right advice or the right help or education. We handle one part, but we've got a huge network now of other people that handle other specific parts for those niche little areas that athletes come up against.
No, exactly right. Even there's so many athletes that either trade under their own name, trade under a company, through a trust, all that sort of stuff. How they're getting paid through those mechanisms, all not new to us, something we deal with every day. It's just, again, having those conversations with them, sitting down with them, and being able to sort of them feeling comfortable with us. And we're seeing great success, even in some of the codes where we've had relationships with, but we haven't done a great deal with. We're seeing a big impact of that now and uplift, which is great, and that'll capture and close that down, and we can support in other areas.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's definitely a lot coming up, I think, in 2025. Plenty of opportunities and new partnerships, new sports. Just taking what we do and just rolling across different sports and different verticals.
As we said, mate, we want this to be the go-to entity for athletes globally. Ultimately, that's the push.
Yeah.
Demonstrate it with the amount of Australians that are applying their trades overseas. In the US college system, through Europe, or all the different leagues across Europe, and all the codes. Then you got their South Pacific regions. We support all of them, and they all have differing and varying needs, even at the banking side of it, and the ability to solve the solutions that they're banking in for them is a critical piece.
Yeah, no, it is. No, very exciting. Lots going on. And all positive, as we say, all positive.
Indeed.
Well, while there's lots going on there hasn't really been a great deal going on in the markets themselves. We've had our couple of wild weeks around the election and I guess the aftermath of that. Over the past week since we've done this last, there hasn't really been much movement in regards to many currencies, just floating around those same rates. Pound Aussie, as we always talk about, being between 193 and 195. It's done the same over the past week. Got as low as 192, as high as $1.96, and just sort of sitting flat right in the middle of that. The Aussie US, same thing, 64.5 to 65 cents. It hasn't really moved. It's been very, very sort of flat. Australian dollar to euro, very much the same. That 61 to 62 level same, just sort of holding there. While there's a lot going on, there's a lot of talks around, obviously, Trump, the party he's bringing in, the tariffs or whatever he might be bringing in. I think a lot of the price movement has sort of happened, and now there's just uncertainty. Everything just seems to be going back and forth, but with no wild swings. I think they're just sort of, everyone's just digesting what's happened, what's going to happen before we start to see rates move, probably aggressively again. The biggest one that we have seen move is being the Japanese yen.
Yeah.
So off the back of, I think it was around, when was it? Maybe early September when they started talking about, this a new government. I think it was their Labour Party, their new government coming in, potentially raising interest rates for the first time in 17 odd years. So that sort of, those talks have started to gain traction again over the past week. So we have seen a move in the yen, round about 4 to 5% against the Aussie and against the US dollar. So that's good news at the moment. So for the Aussies playing rugby in Japan, which we have a handful of, and earning Japanese yen, moving it back at the moment is the best time we've seen since, the middle of September, and before that kind of August. So, 2 to 3 month sort of highs at the moment in regards to those swings. So sent out a heap of messages this week, just letting people know, making them aware of it. A couple are just setting up their, we've got a few new clients, they've got to set up their, so in Japan, they need to set up like an overseas payee as such. It takes about a week for that to happen. So they go into the branch, fill out the paperwork, or they can do it on the app. It sort of gets sent to the bank and then comes back to them 3 to 5 days later once it's been approved. So that's just one thing to be aware of if you do move over to Japan, is putting that in place. Getting it done early will help you do that. But then in regards to that is, getting some Aussie dollars back or some yen back into Aussie dollars now, given that we've seen a bit of a move in regards to that. So that's a positive for them at the moment. But apart from that, nothing major. Aussie New Zealand still sitting around $1.10, Euro US $1.05, and pound US still sitting around that sort of 126. Everything, as I say, has probably been within a 1 cent range, and since last week, just very much going sideways.
Yeah, it's very, very stable at the moment. Famous last words, but yeah.
Plus, we had Thanksgiving last week, so there was a lot of liquidity and probably orders taken out of the market with everyone having their turkeys and chilling out for the weekend. So
watching football,
we might find that we see a bit more movement, this week and towards the end of this week. Just having a look at what's coming up. You've got the Wednesday bit of job details, GDP out of Australia, New Zealand Central Bank speaking, Bank of England governor speaking, ECB, so the European Central Bank president speaks. So a lot of sort of speeches this week, and then a couple of bits and pieces like employment out of the US, out of Canada, and services PMI out of the US. Probably, nothing. I mean, a couple of high tier data, but again, I think off the back of what we've seen and with it being a quiet week, there should be some movement in some regard this week somewhere. But still, US to Aussie, so bringing money back from America, still a very, very high point. So even if that's something like a forward contract that you might want to look at and booking in today's rate for the next 6 months, we are sitting around about give or take 12-month highs at the moment.
Yep.
Bringing money home, so taking advantage of that by locking in for the next 12 months because we don't know what's going to happen. It's always an option. So as always, reach out to ourselves, reach out to your current provider, have a chat around that, around 12-month highs, how to best manage it, and if there's anything we can do to help, as always, give us a call.
Yeah, mate. As you say, we're just on the end of the phone, and there's no obligation. Just come and give us a try.
Yeah. Excellent, mate. Well, I think that wraps everything up for us. Record month, lots going on, new sports, new partnerships, and the markets are doing nothing.
No, I love it, mate. I think it's been overwhelmingly positive over the last 4 to 5 weeks leading into this Christmas period, which is normally a downtime. But as you say, we've seen a significant amount of interest with people reaching out to us, firstly, just to understand what we do and how we do it. And off the back of that, it's been incredible that the amount of follow-up emails of people then saying, hey, great conversation. You need to meet this person. And those conversations have been nothing but positive also. So, yeah, you're right. Busy time over the next couple of weeks. I think the waistline is going to feel it a little bit, but that's all right. We'll get through Christmas.
Yeah,
and
that's
worry
it.
about that 2025.
Yeah, treadmill, like everyone. Get on the treadmill.
There you go. Love it. All right,
Fantastic, mate. Well, have a great afternoon, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, done, mate. Speak to you.